I am positive that the cure to cancer and the most beautiful symphonies that we have never heard and the greatest innovations and inventors and entrepreneurs of our time, the Olympic champions, are rotting away in graves, like packages of gold that just were never unwrapped, like rare, beautiful seeds that we will never get to receive the fruit from. And I don't want your life to be like that too. And that is why I made this video, so that you can understand the things that will stop you from reaching your full potential and being able to walk in the divine purpose and assignment that God has for your life. And I'm not talking about the obvious roadblocks like fear of failure, which is a thing, fear of success, or not having a plan or vision. I'm going to go deep into the things that you probably haven't heard anybody else mention before. And these are some of the biggest reasons why people never become the person that they're supposed to be, and why you feel stuck and lost and in this in-between twilight zone, like you're trapped in between the reality of who you're called to be versus who you are right now. And if you can get past these roadblocks that I'm going to tell you in this video, then you will understand how everything in your life can shift, and you will feel a level of fulfillment and satisfaction that you could not ever have even imagined was possible. So one of the first things that happens that people are not actively aware of is that we have been raised in societies that require us to get expert approval and outside validation for everything. How do you know you did well in school? Well, because a teacher told you so. How do you know that you're healthy? Well, because a doctor told you so. How do you know that you are smart and you can get a job and that you checked all the boxes? Well, you went to college, you got a degree, and that little piece of paper sitting on your wall, it told you so. And so we have been trained and taught from being able to go to the bathroom to being able to eat lunch or decide when we're moving between classrooms, that everything in our life, we have to get permission before we do it. And so when we are so used to having bosses and employers and all these authority figures in our life, we can start to feel like we have to ask permission before we can do something else. And so what this ends up being is we start looking around and we're waiting for someone to tell us that we can. We're waiting for someone to give us permission, to validate us, to say, yes, you should do that. You are good at that. Go forward. Make sure that you're doing that. But I'm telling you, that is the thing that's going to hold you back more than anything else, because I want to tell you, I was at a place where I was giving the talks that I'm giving to you right now to people that were around me, and they just considered it a rant or me getting on a soapbox. And I am so glad that I did not let their thoughts and their lack of interest in the things that I was talking about and the growth and the insight that I was trying to share with them impact me, because if not, then I would not be where I am right now as a millionaire who is able to attract an audience through literally saying the same things that I was saying to them all of those years ago. And so if you are waiting on somebody else to give you permission, not only will they might not give you permission, but they will probably discourage you from even doing it, because your vision is not their vision. And you can't hold them accountable for your inaction, because God didn't give them the gift. He didn't give them the vision. He gave it to you. And so when you go and you try to blame them for the reason why you didn't do it, because they didn't support you or they didn't validate you or they didn't say, yes, you can, and prop you up, that will not matter, because the simple fact that you possess the gift is all the permission that you need to be able to use it and to walk in it. The simple fact that you have the ability is the evidence that it is what you were meant to do. The fact that you understand those things more quickly than somebody else does, that your fashion sense is so natural to you when other people struggle, the things that people ask you advice for that come easily to you, those are your giftings. And you will be required to do something with them, and you will be held accountable for what you do with them. And a deeper part of this that you may have not even thought about before is that you could be so attached to the old version of yourself that you are afraid of what would happen if you allowed yourself to change. You see, because our lives, we are conditioned and trained for comfort, for stagnation, because change could be dangerous and our body wants to keep us safe because we want to stay alive. But what that means is we are not in a place where we're swinging from trees anymore, or where we're worried about the lion down the street coming and biting our heads off. And so we have this heightened sense of fear and this heightened fear of change that we have to put to rest and say, no, this is not only fine, but this change is going to be much more beneficial and is going to put us in a much better position than it will do harm to us. And you have to let go of these old labels and allow yourself to become someone else. Allow yourself to step into a new person, to a new season that has new interests and new hobbies, because what has killed more people's potential than anything else is not even who they believe they were, but it's who you believe you are not. It is your I am not statements. I'm just not good at tech. I'm just not good in front of people. I'm just not that kind of person. Those are the things that will always hold you back. And if you do not get over them and start understanding and identifying with the person that you are going to be and that you want to be, then you will always be held back by that roadblock of that belief that you can't be this person, when again, you're the only one saying that you can't and putting up that wall. But oftentimes that can be connected to the fear of losing relationships, losing opportunities, losing perceptions or the relationships that you have with certain people when you change. And I'm going to tell you the truth. It is different. The people who you hang out with now when you become who you're supposed to be, most of them are not going to be able to come with you. But you have to understand that every person who is not there was not meant to be, that every person is not meant to go where you are going. And some people are there for a season, and that's not a bad thing. What we have to do is trust that God is ultimately in control. And that's what so much of if we are really working in our purpose comes down to, is do we trust God? Many of us are holding back because we are simply relying on our own understanding. We don't see how all the pieces fit together. We don't see how it could come about. We don't see how it could work. And so we go ahead and jump ahead of God and we say, well, it's not going to work, so I'm not going to do it anyway. But again, you have to understand, what did God say to the man in the parable of the talents? He said, you lazy, right? He literally said, you're lazy and you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You were fearful. Those are the two accusations. Those are the two judgments that God made upon the man who took the talent and who put it inside of the dirt and who hid it away. And literally said, you were lazy and you were fearful. And we do not want to have those same accusations that were rightfully so put at us because we were too scared to trust God with where he was taking us. And you have to understand that success doesn't mean this endless struggle, but it does mean letting go of things and people and relationships and habits that no longer serve you. It does mean that just like a plant grows and its old leaves have to be pruned, understanding that that pruning is what's going to enable you to flourish even further. We can also be trapped by a limited imagination. I remember the first time that I heard somebody talk about a $100,000 month, and I was mind blown because I guess technically you know that people make that much money, but I had never even dreamed of that or thought of anyone who could. And then I saw this 19-year-old kid on YouTube that was making $100,000 a month. And I'm like, wait, if God could do that for him, then certainly it could be possible for me too. And so I encourage you to read books, listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, and things that are going to expand your mind and that are going to help you to see beyond the world that is in front of you. We are at such an advantageous situation where we have the ability to become besties with people who have done it, people who have walked the road before you and are now literally on platforms like this, like I'm doing right now, giving you this free information that can change your life if you allow it to. But if you continue to use the barriers of just what is in your immediate line of sight, use the barriers that other people have put on you, but understand when they tell you what your limitations are, it's simply a reflection of what they believe that they can do. So if they say, no, that's not realistic, what they're saying is it's not realistic for them. That has nothing to do with if it's realistic for you or not. You get to decide what you do and whether or not it's realistic based on if you decide to make it a part of your reality. But a lot of times when we start to try, we get so attached to the outcome that it becomes really hard to keep going. What you have to do, and this part is probably going to be the most cliche thing that I say, is enjoy the process. You have to be focused on the journey and enjoy the process of becoming. Be addicted to the growth. Be addicted to the process, because that is where you're going to spend most of your life. Those big milestone accomplishments, like when my husband and I are able to get 200 acres, That happened in literally an hour. We signed some paperwork and it was ours, and that was a great moment. But it was a moment. But the work where we spent most of the time was all the time that we spent building up to getting to that point. When I made my first $1 million, it was amazing seeing the numbers on the screen, but we had spent most of the time building everything to get there. And so if you are just waiting for these moments and these outcomes, you are going to find your life so unfulfilling and unsatisfying. And it's going to discourage you from being able to break through to the next level of where you can go, because you are constantly comparing yourself to the outcome instead of enjoying the action and the process and trusting that the outcome is going to come on its own. And on that note, what outcome are you even looking for? What are you trying to find? What is even your definition of success? Because if we don't understand that, you're going to be like a hamster on a hamster wheel, running, but actually going nowhere. And you're going to hit these milestones, these arbitrary things you've came up with your head. I want to hit a 10K month. I want to be a millionaire. I want to have this level of influence, or be able to do this or go there or travel to these places. And it all sounds good, but if you don't really understand what you want or why you want it and have a solid game plan and a value-based, purpose-driven life, then you will arrive at all these milestones and find yourself constantly chasing the next thing, because it'll never be enough. You have to reflect on what success means for you and what success looks like for the sphere that God has put you in, and strive towards that. You have to ask yourself the question, if nobody else was around, what would I want to do with my life? Would I still care about those name brand things? Would I still want to travel to the places that I want to? Would I still want the house that I want? Would I still want the car that I want? If no one was there to see me, if I was on a private island or stranded on a private island, better yet, and I had the opportunity to get these things, would they matter to me? What would matter to me if this was my last year on earth? You have to get real with yourself and ask questions to really get down to what's important to you. And that is when you can start to understand how your potential and your purpose connect with the plan and the path, and then the purpose and prospering on the other side of that. And something that a lot of people will say in their head, but maybe you've never said it out loud. Maybe you're scared because someone is better than you at it. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's just people you see on social media and you think, well, yeah, I had a good transformation and I did do the fitness journey thing, but I don't look like those girls. Like, I don't look like the ones that have the millions of followers on social media. And maybe, yeah, I'm kind of good at speaking, and I guess my friends do come to me for advice, but I don't have as much experience as this other person. I'm not as well spoken as them. And what you have to understand is there are two sides to this coin, and we're going to get real. We're going to have a one-on-one right now. So you may not be as good as them. Like, we're just going to start there. The reality of the situation is you just genuinely may not have the same level of gifting and the same level of talent that they do. Because as much vocal training as some of us do, we will never be Mariah Carey's, okay? I can carry a tune, but I was never meant to go on American Idol, okay? And as much as I would try, I just know that that's not the specific gifts that God has given me. And you see, in our world of equity and all of this stuff, we have been sold this lie that fairness is what is going to be above all. God is not a fair God. In the parable of talents, he gave one person 1, and I'm trying to remember correctly, he gives the other person like 5, and the other person 10. That's not equal. You will not have an equal number or amount of talents as anyone around you. But the good news is you aren't accountable to talents and to responsibilities that you don't have. But what you are accountable to is to using the talents and gifts that God has given you, to stewarding the things, the time and the money that he has given you. And that brings you to the other side of the coin, is just because your sword may not be as sharp as someone else's doesn't mean you are useless on the battlefield. In fact, God has still called you to fight with the weapon that he has put in your hands. He has still called you to get proficient in using the thing that he has put in your hand and in sharpening it to the best of your ability. And so if for no other reason than the fact that God commanded you to, you have to go get out on the field and swing that sword and do what you can to help in this fight. Because what you don't understand is you're making it about you, but it's not, because we are in a war. We are in a spiritual battle against rulers in high places, against evils, against principalities. And you should be happy that there is somebody else who is on your team who is riding on the chariot with the flaming sword. That should not be a point of envy for you. That should be a point of rejoicing. If you're on the team with Steph Curry and he's shooting threes, why are you jealous of him when he's getting points for your team? That is a very self-centered view to say, I'm not going to be happy because I'm supposed to be the one. I'm supposed to be Moses. I'm supposed to be the headliner. I'm supposed to be David. But the truth is, most of us aren't, myself included. And I never want to be anything except what God has called me to be. And so I'm going to go as far as I can with what God has given me and to proclaim his word and to glorify him using the gifts that he has given me. But at no point am I going to stop and compare myself to someone else, because I know that what God has for them is not the same thing as what he has for me. And all I will be responsible and accountable for is the things that he has given me. But even after we get through all of this, the thing that holds more people back, I feel like in this day and age than almost anything, is the fear of work. Especially to my ladies, can we zoom in real quick? Can we talk? We have gotten so wimpy. We have gotten so weak. We have gotten so frail and fragile. And this view that women should not help men, like, what are we talking about? We're literally helpmeets. That's literally in the name. It's in the job description. That's a whole separate video. But the idea that you're just going to sit back and God is going to hand it all to you is crazy. The same way with your children. Do you just hand them things? Do you spoil them? No, because you know that they won't learn anything. You know that they will be rotten. You know that they will be worse off for it. But when they work for something and they actually have to toil in order to get profit, that's God's plan. What we have to understand is that work is God's design, that he set up the world in this way, and work was a part of the Garden of Eden. It was not a result of the fall. And guess what? We're also going to be working in heaven. So this idea that all of life is about avoiding work is totally untrue. But what I am in support of is choosing the work that aligns with your gifts and calling, and that is satisfying and fulfilling, and that you enjoy doing, and that you have the discipline to do it even on the days when you don't. And so when you overcome these roadblocks and these limiting beliefs, you will find that the chains have now unshackled and you are able to truly be free to reach the highest heights of your potential, to which there is no limit that we need to be worried about. We just need to do as much as we can to glorify God with what we have. And if you're saying, well, Coach Danielle, I would love to do that. I would love to unlock my full potential, but I have no idea where to start. Well, I created something just for you. It's a free mini course that goes over how do you go from stuck to unstoppable? And it is the 3-step blueprint to go from surviving to thriving in your God-given purpose and with your prosperity. So if you're interested in learning how, I have a free mini course, like I said, in the description, that's going to go over everything step by step. And remember, no one is coming to save you. It's up to you to do the work to unlock and to grow in your gifting and your potential. And I'm excited to do the work with you.